Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Madanji, for such a wonderful session. And Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita session. Radhe Radhe, Nitinji, over to you. So much looking forward for today's session.
Radhe Radhe Pallaviji. Thank you, Madanji, for the wonderful session. I'm also so much looking forward to having a good discussion today, like every day. So, Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening. Hope you had a wonderful day and a great start to your day. Today, we are going to pick up shloka 4.11. It is, I mean, it always sounds like a cliche when I say it's such an important verse. All the verses are equally important. But this verse is quoted a lot in bhakti circles because in this verse, Lord Krishna is giving a rule and rule about how he reciprocates. And then in the previous verse, he set the context on who's, who he's, how does he provide his special grace to, certain set of people or devotees. And today we will have a very interesting discussion. We will talk about the things which are inseparable from our existence. So stuff that is part of our, or I should say the occupational hazard of being human beings, something which is inseparable from us, is something we are going to discuss. And it is dictated by a couple of principles that go hand in hand with our human life. So let's get started. It's a pretty deep verse. We will pick one aspect of it today and the other aspect, time permitting. Otherwise, it would require at least a couple of sessions, this particular verse. So let's get started. I'm going to pull up my screen and we'll get started with our opening prayers. I hope the audio is all right. Pallavi?
Yes, it sounds good. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, great.
So far.
So far, okay. You qualified it already. Okay, just let me know if it stops cooperating.
Yeah,
okay, we'll get started with our opening prayers then. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Ishwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening once again. So let's get started. Today we are going to have verse 4.11 and like always, you're welcome to follow. I'm going to recite it and then we'll proceed further. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tastathaiva bhajamyaham mam vartamanuvartante manushya partha sarvashah. All right.
Yeah, Ashutosh ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstaiva bhajamyaham mam vartamanuvartante manushyaha partha sarvasah.
Very nice, Ashutoshi. Wonderful. Let's pick a few more hands.
Yeah, Uday Kumar ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Uday ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Ye yata mam prapadyante tans tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartama anuvartante manushya partha sarvashah. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, very nice, Uday ji.
Yes, Sandhya ji, Radhe Radhe. Please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstithaiva bhajamyaham mam vartmanuvartante manushyaha partha sarvashah.
Very nice, Sandhya. Wonderful. Okay. We have it.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe
Radhe Radhe.
yatha mam prapadyante tastateva bhajamyaham mam vartman uvartante.
Your voice
I lost it.
trails off, Shyamji.
I know, Radhe. So sorry for this.
No worries.
Yeah, I see Sunita ji.
Yes,
Please go
Sunita ji,
ahead.
please go
Radhe
ahead.
Radhe.
राधे राधे ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याय पार्थ सर्वशः.
Very nice, Sunita ji.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you very much. Where are you joining us from?
Dallas.
Oh, Dallas only. I look forward to meeting you on one of the days.
No, we try to come, but I live little far from temple, so we will come.
Sure, sure. Whenever you can. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe Rupa ji, please
Three
go
more
ahead.
hands.
Radhe
Yeah.
Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe Rupa ji.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तत्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः.
Very nice, Rupa ji. Wonderful. All right, we'll take few more hands.
Yeah, Rahul ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Rahul.
राधे राधे ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तास्तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः. राधे
Very
राधे.
nice, Rahul. Wonderful. All right, we can take maybe 2 or 3 more and then we'll
Yeah,
get started.
Sumesh ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Sumesh ji.
Radhe Radhe everyone. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
Very nice, Sumesh ji. Wonderful. All right, do we have any more? Maybe
Yeah, Suchitra ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Suchitra ji.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
Very nice, Suchitra ji. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining from Alan.
Alan.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope we can
I
catch up
have met
sometime.
you recently.
Oh, you met me?
Yeah, not you.
Okay. All right. Maybe I've forgotten. So, you know, that's one of the flip side of growing old. Your memory starts taking a beating. So, but I look forward to catching up. Yeah.
That's when I started the Gita session.
Okay.
When I was confused.
Very nice. Good to hear from you. I look forward to catching up with you. One of the days. Thank you. Okay, we can take maybe 2 or 3 hands.
Yeah, there are 3 hands still raised, Nitin ji.
Sure, we can cover all 3 real quick and then get started.
All right, Pragi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go
3
ahead.
more. That's it.
Yeah.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Pragi ji.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याय पार्थ सर्वशः.
Very nice, Pragi ji. Wonderful. Let's take 2 more and we'll get started.
Yes, Sam ji, please go ahead. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tansateva bhajamyaham mam vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Radhe Radhe.
Wonderful. Very nice. We'll take 1 more and we'll get started.
Yes, Ramyati, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Ye yatha mam prapadyante तांस्तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्तमानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
Wonderful. I see just one more hand. So if it's just one, we can take one more.
Riya ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Riya ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तान् सदैव भजाम्यहम् ममापत्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्यपात सर्वशः.
Wonderful. Very nice. So let's get started. Ye means who, yatha in whatever way, mam unto me, prapadyante surrender, tan them, tatha so eva certainly, bhajami reciprocate. Aham I, mama my, vartama path, anuvartante follow. Manushya men, Partha, Arjun the son of Pritha, Sarvasha in all respects. So the short translation for this shloka goes like, in whatever way people surrender unto me, I reciprocate them with them accordingly. God is very, very clearly saying that. Everyone follows my path knowingly or unknowingly, O son of Pritha. Beautiful verse. So there are two aspects God has touched here. One is the reciprocation, principle of reciprocation, which would require a discussion on its own. So today we'll discuss the other aspect of it. Everyone follows my path knowingly or unknowingly, O son of Pritha, is what Lord is saying. So let's get started on this one today. Now the previous shloka, as we had seen, we are not going to recite it, so don't worry. This in this one, God is saying being free from attachment, fear, anger, fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. And then he goes on to say, and then they attained my divine love. That's what God is saying. Now, if you look at this verse, one may think that God is saying that, Lord Krishna is partial. Is he not equally disposed to bestow his grace? Or he's partial towards people who absorb their minds in him versus the worldly minded souls? This question might crop up. So let's look at it in perspective, what it means. Now, for those who deny the existence of God, people say, okay, we don't know if there's God, or some outrightly reject the concept of God. There is absolutely no God, right? Who has seen God and there's no God. Now, God says, I will meet them in form of law of karma, nyaya. The relationship now we are forming with God in that case is, it's like this. Whether we acknowledge or not, gravitational force still exists, or gravity still exists. So similarly, the God, whether you acknowledge or not, is not going to make any difference. Then God says, fine, then let's play that perfect game, perfect justice-based game. What shall you sow, so shall you reap. That concept continues in that case. Very simple. He says, all right, I'll simply be a justice dispenser in that case for you, because there's absolutely no acknowledgement of God, the basically who has created this entire universe and created us to begin with for a purpose. So if we reject that for whatever reason, then obviously he's not going to make it worse. He's going to simply say, all right, you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. You do good and bad, you get good and bad. So I will be a perfect justice dispensing father in that case. But I will still provide you the provisions that you need when you have to sustain your life here. So let's look at it through some analogies here. If you're playing soccer or cricket, the referee's job is to dispense justice. If a red card is shown, why it is shown? Because some player has actually fouled in a manner which is not permissible in the game. Or if the referee is saying, he raises the finger, that means the batsman is out. Now, these humans can make errors, right? That is why there's a concept of third umpire where technology aid is being taken. Or even the referee can make a mistake, like the hand of God in case of Maradona, when they won the World Cup. In fact, one of his goals, if you're a soccer enthusiast, you would know he scored. It was supposed to be a header, but he had touched his hand to that ball. Actually, it was a foul. The referee could not detect it. So he said it was the hand of God, Maradona. He still says that. You can search it up. So these people can make mistakes. They may not be able to dispense perfect justice, but the endeavor is still to dispense perfect justice. And in case of God, he's a perfect justice dispenser. Now, let's say he would not dispense justice. He would simply, do something based on his whims. And that is one of the things. The third relationship that can happen with somebody is whimsical. Somebody is moody and someday he feels, okay, let me do this. The other day he'll feel, no, let me do that. And then something else. Then it becomes whimsical. There's no method. There's no structure. And then you lose faith in that system itself. It's like two sons of a father. One sleeps throughout the day, other works hard. And if father's reward system is equitably disposed to both of them, then there is absolutely no trust in father. He'll say the father will do whatever he wants. So there's no incentive for people to work on themselves or to become better. So that whimsical part would come if God were to do things without any rule or regulation whatsoever. So the law of karma is actually establishing a relationship with God. We don't even have to establish. It is a de facto relationship. De facto means by default. We don't have to do anything to establish that. It happens all by itself. That is the law of karma. And it is definitely not whimsical, right? That was the third part we had spoken about. So there are only three kind of relationships that can happen in this world. One is the perfect justice based. One is an exploitation based. And the third one is mercy based, right? If somebody is an employee and the person gets rewards for the good work that they do, that is called justice based. If somebody is simply exploited, then it is injustice based. And if somebody is rewarded causelessly, then it is called mercy or justice based, mercy based. And in case of God, if we don't endeavor to understand that, and we are simply operating, not even acknowledging or trying to understand what are the rules that dictate this creation and what are the laws that dictate human life, the manual for human life, the de facto relationship is anyway established, that is in the form of karma. So whether you are a theist or on the way to becoming a theist, that law of karma is going to be applicable regardless. And that's what God is saying. Now, further on in this shloka, God goes on to add that he's saying this very important thing. He's saying that everybody follows my path knowingly or unknowingly, O son of Pritha. Knowingly or unknowingly, they are following his path. How is what we are going to look at. The reciprocation part, like I said, we'll probably discuss tomorrow if you're not able to get through to it today. So let's look at an important concept. We'll make it a little interactive on each slide today because I want to build on this concept so that it becomes absolutely clear. So we look at water and wetness. Are they separable? Can we have dry water? Both go hand in hand? You agree? Good. Let's look at another example. Fire and heat. Do we have cold heat? All right. They are inseparable. It's an attribute of fire. Milk and whiteness. Can we have black milk? Maybe chocolate milk you can have, but whiteness is something which is inseparable from milk, right? You really can't take away that property of milk from itself. Now, furthermore, sugar and sweetness. Do we have salty sugar? So these all become oxymoronic if we take away that attribute, right? You don't have to say, you say fire and heat is automatically, you can assume that, right? Water, wetness will automatically come. So both go hand in hand. Similarly, now the other way, how our scriptures talk about it is, these are called the dharma. We have spoken about the concept of dharma. This is also called dharma. Dharma means something that goes hand in hand with something, which is inseparable from it. Dharma actually word comes from dharya, something which is worth imbibing. But this is also called dharma, where it is inseparable from that entity itself. So going by the same measure, so applying the same yardstick, what do you think inseparable dharma of humans? I'm not saying for, that makes a lot of difference. Okay, for is a deeper discussion. If you think about it simply, for we'll go into devotion to God and all that stuff, but that's why I've put off. What is the inseparable dharma of humans? Have you thought about it? Regardless of which nationality, what kind, what temperament, what mood you have, which gender you are, there is one thing, there's a common denominator for all human beings, which is pretty interesting. There are more than one actually, but let's talk about this concept a little bit today. Anybody who wants to take that? What do you think is an inseparable dharma of humans? Just by being humans, it's an irrefutable principle. You have to do that, no choice. Anybody wants to take that?
Yeah, Preeti.
It goes hand in hand in being humans.
Preeti ji, Radhe
Yeah.
Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe,
Yeah.
Preeti.
Radhe Radhe, everyone. Compassion.
Compassion, yes.
Kindness.
Yeah.
Loving God.
They are all
Loving God.
virtues. Yeah, we are
they're
part of
Yes.
God. So some of these virtues are inherent to us. Nice. But then there are people with demonic qualities also, right? Tamas is predominant in them. They may also have compassion, but yeah, that's a good call out, because we are divine, and then some of those attributes of God, they are inherent there. Even a what do you call a thief would not like to get robbed, right? So some of these qualities that you're talking about inherently are there with us. They go hand in hand with us. Beautiful, very very nice point. Anybody else wants to add on to that?
Kumarji has mentioned in the chat action.
Action. Yeah, that's interesting. I think they're closing in on things. Yeah, action. Very true. Nobody can be.
Ramyati also has mentioned maybe breathing and living well. No matter what, everyone wants to live.
True. Yeah, I know. We are all touching upon that. We're getting close to that. They are all manifestation of the concept that I am going to introduce. So very nice. Anybody else had anything else?
Yes, Ashutosh ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. I think search for happiness. We are looking for happiness.
We are searching for, yeah, very true. That is something we are searching for sure. And there's a principle that determines that. We'll get to that as well. Great. So let's continue. I see one more hand. Is there anybody else? Okay, quite a few.
Yeah, there are a lot of hand raised, but many people in the chat has also mentioned about seeking happiness.
Seeking happiness.
Jyoti ji also mentioned about that, seeking happiness.
Yeah, seeking happiness, very true. Seeking happiness is one of the irrefutable things that we have to do. We have no choice but to, for sure. Yes. Anything else? Anybody else? I'm looking for a particular word. I haven't heard it yet. So, okay, no worries. Maybe one more hand.
Okay. Hital ji, please go ahead.
Do your duty, Dharma and humans, right? So as we're born as a humans, we have to do our duties until we die. And duties could be mundane or unmundane.
Great point. Yes, I think all of you are right. But let me get to the exact word, and then that is whatever we spoke about is actually a manifestation of that concept only, and then we'll build on that. So let's go. We'll continue to have a little more discussion on the next slide as well. So let's look at it. So this girl is watering the plants. Right now, people, they spend time with family and friends, as you can see. Now, what is happening here? They're hosting guests and relatives. Somebody's working at office. Somebody's fighting a war. Somebody's exercising, doing athletics. Somebody's taking out pets. So all these, I mean, they are different activities we carry throughout our day. Right? They are not all inclusive, but you got a gist of it. What are we doing basically? One of these activities, somebody's at the border, somebody's in sports, somebody's doing, watering the plants, spending time with family, hosting guests, doing potlucks, working at office. Who is being served here? Anybody? I want it to be a little interactive so that we build it step by step. Who's being served here? It's a philosophy.
I can give it to Kumarji. His hand is raised.
Kumarji.
Yeah, we are serving God. As simple as that. We are part of God, our soul. We are tiny fragments of God, and it's he or she whom we serve.
Great. Okay, we'll get a little more granular. Okay, we are serving God. Point taken. Anything more? Anybody wants to add?
Yeah, someone has also mentioned that it is like service, serving.
Yes, yes, serving. Very true. We have to serve. So the dharma of humans, like something is inseparable from your existence, is to serve. You have no choice but to serve. Now the question is, who is being served here? And Kumarji said God. Can we be a little more specific here? We have to serve. No matter what. If not nothing, you will serve your own body by sleeping. Or you will serve yourself by feeding or doing. You have to serve. Either you'll serve your body, or you will serve any of the people around you, your relatives, or your family, or your kid, or somebody, your employer, your boss, or plants, or nothing. You'll start taking out a pet itself. But you will continue to serve. There is no choice but to serve. It's like one of those principles where you cannot separate service or seva from your existence. You have to serve. Now, who is being served? And Kumarji said God. Can we think a little deeper and get a little more granular into that?
Yeah, Ramyati has mentioned that aren't we serving ourselves? We are doing it to keep us happy.
Very true. Now you have taken a 2-step jump here. I asked for 1 step. Okay, we'll get to the next step as well. Yes. End of the day, we are serving ourselves because we have not gotten that satisfaction or satiation that we are looking for. So yes, we are doing things to attain that joy, play, peace, bliss, whatever we are seeking in forms of serving. End of the day, we are serving ourselves only. So let's look at it this way.
Are we serving our souls? Is that the answer you're looking for?
No, we are serving God only. God is saying, right, knowingly or unknowingly,
right,
following my path. So I'm going to map it back to that. I'll connect the dots there. You're right. We are serving God. I just want to be a little more specific. Yes, we are serving God. Actually, yes. Do we have anybody else? I think somebody else raised their hand as well.
Yeah. Venkatji. Yeah. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji. We are serving other bhutas also, like serving other jivas, other people.
Yeah.
Whether you consider them as a god or consider them as a person or consider them as an entity, but you are serving others, which is indirectly going to the God only.
True, very true. Great point. Wonderful point. Yes, Preetiji, you had raised your hand, so you're not allowed to lower your hand.
I don't see her hand raised, Nitinji.
Okay, I thought maybe.
Oh, yeah, I think she has raised. Sorry, I missed that.
One more and then we'll continue.
Yeah, Preetiji. Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe everyone. What I wanted to say was said by the previous participant. Yes, by serving ourselves, we are serving God. Radhe Radhe.
Venkatji, you stole Preetiji's thunder today. Okay. Okay. Anybody else who wanted to add something?
Anandji, yeah, please go ahead. Anand Waliaji, yeah. Radhe Radhe, go ahead. I think there's some audio problem there.
No worries. So let's continue.
Oh, yeah, he's able to speak. Yeah.
That is only the action that makes us to serve the God.
Very true. Yes, we are serving God only, and that is essentially what God is saying. Knowingly or unknowingly, you are actually following my path only. Now, I'll tell you, all this stuff that we do seva to. Seva is our dharma. And you could mute, if you're not talking, there's a bit of a disturbance.
Hello. Radhe. I think I'm able to. Did I mute you as well?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are actually serving all of this in the realm of Maya. And Maya is what? It's a tarangi or inferior energy of God. We are actually serving God's energy only. So we have choice actually to serve God or God's energies. Whether we do it knowingly or unknowingly, we are actually serving God only. That is what God is saying. And in fact, let's build on this principle. So we are serving God's energy, nothing else. It is all God's energy. Because even the bhutas, if you look at it, they are nothing but parts of God only. So we are serving them. And we are serving God's energy all around us, whether we are watering the plants or taking out the pets, no matter what we are doing, we are actually serving his energy, and we continue to serve his energy in form of seeking wealth, prestige, and other things. Those are also his energies. Even wealth, seeking wealth is also his energy. So we are actually serving God's energy for the intention is where we are going wrong, basically. The intention is for our own self-enjoyment, our own gratification, for our own bhog. That is where we're going. Now let's look at it from another angle as well, which I'm sure we have spoken about it, but we can refresh this concept again. Now, all the stuff that we do, right? Starting from studying, getting a good admission, finding a dream job, right? Then finding that perfect spouse near Eiffel Tower, and then finding that dream home that we always cherished for, raising kids, having that perfect family, like hum do hamare do, people think, the template life. And then Hamara Bajaj cashed on that and made a killing in Indian market in 80s and 90s. And then and a happy family, that perfect picture that we visualize in our mind, right? If you watch movies like Hum Aapke Hain Kaun and all, that perfect family picture, all that stuff that we do, that we crave for or seek or think, is what life is all about, right? Is actually an endeavor to get that perfect happiness that our soul is craving for. Now, that what scriptures tell us is God is bliss. God has bliss is not correct. God is bliss. Simple. So the other name for God is Anand. God is called Anand. God is called Satchidanand, Chidanand, or simply Anand. Anand covers every aspect of God. God is bliss. Maharaji explains it very nicely. He says it's like Rasgulla, right? So it's like it is soaked in ras, and then it acquires that ras. So God is not like he has bliss, he has acquired it. God is bliss. His body is made up of bliss, the bliss that we have been seeking. Now, all these endeavors, if you look at it knowingly or unknowingly, everybody is seeking God, right? So technically, no one is an atheist. Can somebody claim I'm an atheist? No, nobody is an atheist. If they can be an atheist, if they say I'm seeking misery, can anybody claim I'm seeking misery? Nobody can. In fact, the day we are born, we announce to the world, I will seek happiness. How do we announce it to the world? By crying. How is crying related to happiness? Relieving pain. Because it's a painful process. You are in the comfort zone of your mother's womb, and all of a sudden, you are brought into the world with so much of light and all that stuff. So you feel pain. And even the process of giving birth and taking birth is painful as well, as scriptures say. So in order to alleviate that pain, you start crying. Because when you cry, you feel light. So from the day we are born, we announce to the world, I am going to seek happiness. Has anybody told us whether we are believe in God or not? No. Why? Because it is an inherent part of our existence. We are part of that ocean of bliss, and the part is attracted towards the whole. Even if we look at this universe, the material creation around us, the part is attracted towards the whole. Anything that comes from mud goes back to mud. Anything that comes from ocean becomes a droplet, becomes cloud, rain, goes to the river, comes back to the ocean. Even the flame, it actually points towards the sun. So the part is always seeking the whole. And because we are part of the ocean of bliss, we have to seek bliss. Nobody can be an atheist. Now, whether you say it's my papa, or whether you want to call them as my mother's husband, does it make any difference? It doesn't. Same way, whether you call it God, or you say, no, I don't believe in it, or but you're still seeking bliss. So you're seeking God. It's as simple as that. You say seek bliss. You say, I'm looking for that material advancement and all that stuff. You're still serving God's energy. So our acknowledging or not acknowledging really doesn't make much of a difference. As scriptures tell us, Lord Krishna himself is saying in this verse, everyone knowingly or unknowingly is following my path only. It's just a matter of time when we have a spiritual awakening, we understand the deeper philosophy behind it, that end of the day, we are serving God's energy only without really knowing whose energy is it, or without really directing our intention towards something that is uplifting for us. So that is the concept Lord Krishna is talking about in this particular shloka. So with that, let's look at it. So even atheists who cannot get away from serving God. Now atheists, now they cannot say, I will not serve God, because they are serving his material energy, Maya, in form of various apparitions like wealth. Like everybody goes after wealth, luxuries, relatives, prestige, whatnot. And then Maya, because they are under the sway of Maya, they have to deal with anger, lust, greed. So there is no escape from that. As you can see, this is how the materially bound conditioned soul is, under the sway of all these stuff, anger, greed, and all that stuff. So it is being run like a puppet. And on the other hand, those who turn their mind away from worldly attraction and look upon God as goal and refuge, he takes care of them just like a mother takes care of her child. It's a very important concept again. Mother taking care of his child. So when you become an unknown nyashrit, not dependent on anything at all, and you become like a child, then God has no choice but to take care of you. That's his rule. He cannot abandon you. There's absolutely no way he can abandon you. He has to take care of you. This is his rule, very powerful rule. But then we are not able to become like a child because we think we have become a big deal now. We can take care of ourselves, and the conditioned state does not permit us to do that, unless we systematically dismantle that conditioned state through proper knowledge, contemplation, meditation, and immersing ourselves in the principles that our scriptures tell us to cleanse our mind. It is so powerful that we are not able to get it. And actually the whole process of spirituality is to become childlike. Childlike, you simply cry out and mother will do everything for you. And mother in this case is God. But when we start taking the center stage, right, that I can do something, now you take, then God, like mother, starts taking a backseat. And the day we start reversing the process, he starts taking more and more control of our lives. That is the principle. So God is saying everybody follows his path. There's absolutely nobody. And if somebody comes back and says, no, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God, I mean, you can listen to them, but think of it deeply. Nobody can actually be atheist. It's just they don't understand the deeper principle around it. Everybody is serving God in this world. And God is saying, you are anyway doing that. Just correct your intention and the job is done. What is he asking us to do? You are anyway doing that. All you need to change is the intention. Job is done. And that intention itself we find so challenging to change, because our intention stays self-seeking because of our lifetimes of practice and conditioning. Right? What is God asking? Think about it. Karam Yoga, what is he saying? You continue doing what you're doing. You will get better at it. In fact, he says, when you start changing your intention, that's it. That fine-tuning behind the motive will make all the difference. But we find it so challenging just to change that motive, even though the effort or the work would remain the same. How interesting it is, right? Just think about it. All right.
Nitinji, if I can interrupt a little bit, there is a question exactly about what you were discussing right now, about, like, how exactly what is meant by, the question is, what is exactly meant by serving Maya? How is it different from serving God in terms of our duties?
Okay, so not sure if you attended one of our previous sessions. I wish I could bring in that slide as well. So God has three energies. One of them is obviously us. And then he has two more energies. One of his energies is atarangi energy, or external energy, or inferior energy, which is called Maya. And that is what we are facing. So it is his inferior energy. Anything that we do, we are actually serving his energy only. Now pick up any example, right? Everything this world is made up of Maya, actually Jad and Chetan. We are serving them. Who are we serving? We are serving our family, we are serving our employer. So it is all part of his material creation. So when something is part of his material creation, we are actually serving them only with an intent to enjoy or to seek that bliss. So God says just reverse the direction. His third energy is called his Yogamaya power. So when we start serving God and we become perfect in our devotion, then the Jiva Atma, which is us, becomes Yogamaya Yukt, Swarupa Shakti Yukt. He actually gives that power to us. But the condition is we have to start facing him at that point. So if we are not facing God, there are only two areas: God, us, and Maya. So if we are facing Maya, how can we face God? So he says that if you change your intention, because we have to deal with Maya anyways, because we are in this conditioned world. And that is where the principle comes. When you start building divine sentiments, even for material things, you get divine results. But problem is we have material sentiments for material things. That is why we are repeating in the material world. That is how this whole philosophy or the principle goes. Material object, material sentiment, material result. Material object, divine sentiment, divine result. Divine object, material sentiment, divine result. Divine object, divine sentiment, divine result. So these four principles dictate. Problem is we are having material objects and material sentiments. So we are getting material results. Now when we say बच्चे भी भगवान का स्वरूप होते हैं, in English I would translate it as even child or kids are also Bhagwan's form only. Very true. That is the excuse grandparents give or even parents give when they cuddle their kids, which is very nice. They deserve all the cuddling. But if that is the case, do you see God in all the kids or only in your kid? If you truly see God in kids, then it should be applicable to all the kids. That's not the case. It is a material sentiment, the bliss that you get from your own kid. And then you give it a form. Okay, they are also God's form. That is fine, but the sentiment is material. So the result will also remain material. So that is how it goes. And then God says you become child. Okay, sorry. Did I answer your question at least, or did I confuse you further?
Yes, I think the question was from Ramyati.
Okay. All right. Those four principles.
Yes, very well explained. Thank you, Nitinji. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure her question must be answered. Yes, she mentioned it's answered.
And I have picked up some questions from previous session as well. So if you write it in attendance tracker or send some, text or anything, I will pick it up in our sessions so that we get a closure on some of the questions from the previous session as well. So I picked some. We will spend some time on that. Other thing I wanted to tell you was about, having that concept of becoming a childlike and God taking the role of a mother. We will expound on that concept more, and the reciprocation principle as well. It's a very important, beautiful principle that God has given here. Lord Krishna is very clear. I said I'll reciprocate them accordingly. We'll discuss that in more detail tomorrow. Now, this is again one of the beautiful analogies Swamiji explains, that the soul, it actually builds a case to God. Then it says that even a material father is so compassionate, right? When they see their kid suffering or in misery, and then they take pity on them. Now, we are ignorant people. We have not understood your principles. We are conditioned. But at the same time, you see, we are in a pitiable state. We are being afflicted by Maya, Tritap, Tridosh, all the problems that we are having, afflictions of mind we are having. We are just suffering in this world. So what kind of a father are you? We have forgotten our relationship with you, but you have not forgotten it. So why do you not do that? This is what the soul tells God. This is the case, okay? So God says, yeah, that's a very fair point. So that's fine. But tell me one thing. Do you really believe I'm your father? That's the one question that God poses to the soul. Now, do we really believe? If we believe, he will intervene like a father. But we have absolutely no belief that he's the father of our father of our father. We think of material father as our father. He said, do you really believe? And if you start believing, he'll start bestowing his grace upon us. And the more we let go of things and leave it up to him, the more we start getting support. The more we keep on taking control of things that we think we can control, the more he takes a backseat. Same example as Draupadi, right? He tries all her resources, starting with her husbands, elders, even her own force. And when he finally let go of everything, he immediately intervened. But for us, even to let go at that stage becomes difficult. because we don't yet have that faith or that belief. It's very difficult for us. Any other questions before we get into some of the questions I picked up from yesterday? These are very important questions, and I'm just placing it here because I think it requires a bit of a closure from yesterday's
discussion. A quick reminder, everyone, please fill in the feedback tracker. The link has been posted in the chat.
Yes, and if you have questions, you can post it there. We'll try to bring it in the session so that it adds to the discussion. And also, we can bring it from time to time in the session. So yeah, any other questions? Please do fill out the feedback tracker. Yes.
Yeah, I don't see any new questions in the chat. Yeah.
I see Manish Ji's hand raised.
Manish Ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, 1 minute. Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Can I just have Radhe Radhe? Can I look the previous slide, please? Then I can put my question.
This one?
Yes, please. So I think you have really explained so nicely, but going back to the entire concept, you have said that God's material energy is Maya. So how do we establish this fact? Because we have assumed that God's material energy is Maya. So once we have a confirmation, then everything can be related the way you have done. So how do we go back and establish that God's material energy is Maya?
So this is explained in scriptures. It's not something that I'm talking about in our previous sessions. Maybe I can bring that. Brahma, Jeev, and Maya. These are the three energies. Basically, three eternal entities. So the Maya is called the external energy of God. The Jeev Shakti, which is us, is called the Tatastha Shakti of God. And Brahma himself, and the third power of God, is Yogamaya Shakti, which is his internal energy. It is also called as Swarupa Shakti, through which he takes avatar. It's also called his Atarangi or Parashakti as well. These entities are eternal. That is how it has been explained in our scriptures. And Maya is actually his energy only. It is called his inferior energy because it is Jada. Jada means insentient. We are sentient. God obviously is sentient. Maya is insentient, and it is actually created from Pancha Mahabhut. So it's like God glances at Prakriti, through comes Mahan, through Mahan comes Ahamkar, through Ahamkar comes Panch Tanmatras, through Panch Tanmatras come ether, water, air, fire, and soil. And through that, this entire creation comes about. It's very systematically explained in our scriptures. But it all is basically emanates from Maya, which is Prakriti, which is its material energy, Jada Shakti, or its external energy. And it says we have always been facing that. The day we start reversing the direction, we are Bahirmukhi, we are not facing God. Then the process of spirituality is to correct our direction. That's pretty much it. It's like we were supposed to go to Kashmir, we have taken a route to Kanyakumari. So the day we understand our direction is completely opposite, because seeking bliss, we don't have a choice. Where to seek bliss, we have a choice. So in the matter of seeking bliss, we don't have a choice. Scripture said us. In the matter of where to seek bliss, we do have a choice. And that's where the direction needs to be corrected. And that is what spirituality is all about. But it's not a premise. It's actually a fact established in our scripture.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Clarifies my doubt. Thank you.
And Krishna himself is saying that Triguni Maya is his own energy. In Bhagavad Gita shloka we had discussed. I'll give you the reference for that as well. Okay, all right. So any other questions on this, or we can pick up some of the questions from yesterday's session, which are very interesting and very important questions to be understood and tackled.
Yeah, I don't see any hand raised, Nitinji, at this moment. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start in reverse order, and please feel free to chime in as well. What does the example of Sarp Yagya illustrate? I spoke about this. Janmejay, he was doing that Yagya because he wanted to avenge his father's death. So there were Yagya mantras where those mantras were so powerful, they were actually invoking all the snakes from across the entire universe. And they were getting offered to the fire. And even if the snakes, they did not want to come, the power of mantras was so strong that they had no choice but to fall down into the fire. So the concept here was the clan. Sometimes the clan has to suffer because of something. The entire clan of snakes, even though they did not commit anything bad. Why? Because Janmejay said his father Parikshit was killed by Takshak and he was taking revenge. And finally Vedvyas had to intervene and he stopped it. But by that time, so many snakes were devoured by the fire. So the clan destiny also is there. In grand scheme of things, it might be dictated by the karmas and all that stuff, but sometimes the entire clan can suffer as well. And this is one of the symptoms of this Adi Bhautik, Adi Devik and Adhyatmic stuff that we spoke about. So entire clan can get genocides that happen. Just because you are a Jew in a particular birth, and if Hitler comes along, you could be one of the 6 million people that were killed around that time, right? Or 600,000 people rather. So that hopefully that answers. The second one was, are people who eat meat and don't believe in scriptures better than vegetarians who believe in scripture but burst in anger? So all right, eating meat wrong per scriptures, don't believe in scriptures, doesn't add value, wrong. They are better human beings. Let's say they don't become angry or they try to help people, right? So 2 wrong, 1 right, 2 right, 1 wrong. Proportion can vary, doesn't make you. The point is, the more we align to the scriptural principles, the better it is. It's not like, okay, 2 of the things are right, 1 is wrong, so we become better than somebody who had 2 wrong and 1 right. End of the day, we have to tick all the boxes, and each of the box has to be ticked with God consciousness. That is what our scriptures are telling us, right? It's the same argument like, okay, so many people die who don't smoke, so let me smoke. No, I mean, that's fine. You still have to abide by the principles, because first of all, you are not helping your cause from a health standpoint. Secondly, the bigger damage is in form of sanskars, the mindset that you're building, right? So because you are losing control over your mind, you have empowered your senses more. And that is something you would have to undo anyways. If you don't do it in this life, you'll have to do it in some other lifetime. So you're creating more homework for yourself. Can it be part of Honi, God's desire? So anything bad that happens to somebody is not part of Honi. It is either somebody's kriyaman or exertion of their free will in a negative way. God's Honi is always for the welfare of humanity and the larger thing. Like Mahabharata war is what's needed at that. It's called one of the Honis, God's desire. But things that we do, like in case of first one we're talking about, when somebody murders somebody or does heinous crimes like gang rape and all, we cannot attribute it to Honi. Somebody is exerting their free will and doing all those things, which is, you can only imagine the punishment they will be meted out in this life, after this life, and lifetimes to come. We can't even imagine. If you read Garud Puran, I would not recommend you to do that. In Bhakti Marg, you would rather read Bhagavatam. Forget about committing such crimes. You will not even think about that. That is how torturous is going to be your existence. So there is no escape from karma. And if you're exerting your free will in a bad way and your timing is bad because of that, there's absolutely no excuse for that. Can somebody act a god, commit sin because of prarabdha? No, that cannot be taken as an excuse. Yes, your prarabdha, your tendencies will be there, but God has given us a free will and the power of intellect. So just because your prarabdha dictates that you have sinful tendencies does not mean you're obligated to perform sin. You still have a free will. You can override that. We spoke about this concept. That is why how we can transcend our gunas. Otherwise, we are in an infinite loop. We say, my prarabdha, I'm sinful, I will commit sin. You commit sin. My next time you'll become a bigger sinner. Now you're a bigger sinner, you'll commit bigger sin. Then you say, no, I'm a sinner, I have to commit big sin. How will you get out of it? God has given us intellect and free will to get out of that. So you can transcend your tamas to rajas to sattva by the power of your discrimination and overriding your gunas. We do get up when we have to get up for office, even though your mind is telling you because of tamas, go to sleep. That means we have that power. We have to exercise it as humans and empower it more and more as we grow. So no, that's not an excuse that it is in my prarabdha, so I will commit sins. And do we make sense of atrocities? Obviously, we cannot make sense. I mean, these are such, we cannot see positivity on it, nor can we, it's very difficult to relate it to karma and things like that. So timings can go wrong, but the law of karma catches up with people if that happens. Somebody might exert their free will. God is not going to discriminate, but the law of karma, when it catches up, and that is why that God is respected, because It is a perfectly justice dispensing system. One can only imagine the fate that they will be meted out, okay, in life. So obviously it's not justified, and God is not going to hold your hand. It may give some resilience or something to the personality who's dealing with it, but then the person who has committed that, obviously they will have to meet a lot of suffering. I mean, you don't even want to think about those kind of suffering. So hopefully it answers some of the questions. There was an interesting question asked that in the path of spirituality, it's like in material world, it is said that you have to burn like a sun to become a sun. Does it hold true in the path of spirituality as well? We'll tackle that question. It's a much deeper question, possibly tomorrow or in one of the Tuesday session, because it's very important to understand that concept as well, because how do we, when we start evolving, what does it mean and what can we expect on this path? And do we really have to burn like sun as we have to do in case of material world, right? So we'll tackle that question as well. All right. Anything else, or we're pretty much on time? Any announcements, Pallavi-ji, before we?
Yes.
Couple of more.
Yes, if that's what I was about to ask. Can I take a moment for a quick announcement?
Sure.
So for today, the highlighted announcement is about the much awaited family camp, which is going to happen Friday, June 24th to June 30th, 2022. It is going to be online and in person. So that is such a good news that it is online as well. Save your spot. I have just now posted the link to register in the chat. There are a lot of great things. It is like enlightening lectures by Swamiji, question and answer with Swamiji, interactive and engaging activities to deepen your knowledge, introspective meditation, soul-touching kirtans, Radha Krishna Rath, and many, many, many more events. So this is a not to be missed special event, a special retreat with Swamiji. So please do register, please save your spot. It is not to be missed event.
Wonderful. And Swamiji is starting his trip to US from April 30th. I think the first one is in probably Pennsylvania. Do check it out. If you are on or around that area, do plan to attend his retreats. We're waiting for him to come here. So that's one thing. Then we have our yoga sessions. They happen every day in the morning. Do avail those sessions. Good for your holistic health, mental health, and physical health. They're absolutely free, and we have some amazing ensemble of trainers, Devi ji and other well-trained yoga instructors. And then we have our family camp. So do plan for it. It's going to be a wonderful event. And boarding, food, and all that, and entertainment is taken care of. Okay, all the three things. So, okay. Do we have any questions we can take? We have.
I see a couple of hand raised.
Sure.
Yeah. Venkatji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe, Nitinji. My question is about, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
So my question is about yesterday's discussion around like natural calamities like either tsunami or those kind of stuff, right? Including corona and all. So if we are part of that by chance, happens to be, so we are also impacted without any intention, whether we do good or bad, but we are also part of the impact there. So is it because of our prarabdha, or is it because of our, how do we take that actually? Is it
collective destiny would play a part in it as well, right? So if you're living in a region where you have exploited natural resources to the hilt, like in Kedarnath, right, you may come under that. So that timing can go wrong. It can happen. That's what I was saying. If the world was to end, Vegas would be the last place I would like to be in, right? So it can happen. And it could be maybe a combination of everything. God only knows that algorithm. Our scriptures tell us you'll have to deal with it. Now it could go wrong anytime. And I don't know how it is dictated. Maybe it was meant to happen because of our lifespan granted in this particular life, and it became a reason for that, and everything just fell in place. But there could be a lot of factors contributing to that. The point here is that for as long as we are in this material world, the taps will have to deal with, and nobody has a formula for that actually. Scriptures tell us that, okay, there's a problem. This is not the right place for you. Think of getting out of it. That's what our scriptures are telling us. And these kind of things are part and parcels of our material world. Even in Mahabharata, think of Abhimanyu. I'm not talking about a calamity there, but then his Mamaji was Lord Krishna himself. His father was great Arjun, and his marriage was done by the Vedavyas. Despite such favorable things, he had to leave this world at the age of 16, tender age, and he was brutally, mercilessly killed. It was very painful how he was. So this world, those kind of things will be there as part. It's part of the design of this whole world itself, and that is where we have to gradually move away from Nyaya-based relationship, the karma-based relationship, towards grace-based and love-based relationship. We have to move, and that step, we take one step, God will take 10, and that is where the spirituality comes about.
Thank you, Nitin.
Yeah, very well. Padmaji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Padmaji.
Radhe Radhe, Padmaji.
Yeah, so few things that I was just contemplating on. I can't remember the question, but I just wanted to put it out there, right? The human discriminatory power that God has given us, animals do not have. So somewhere in there, when we asked, when our mind asks these questions, there is like always a wrong thing which can be done a right way, and there is wrong thing which is anyhow done the wrong way. So either way, it is wrong. So that discriminatory power, if you channel your mindset into that, and if you give and nourish your confusions with the spiritual knowledge in the intellect, then we will develop, I feel, slowly as baby steps. And then you have to beg God that give me that discriminatory power. I'm not able to know what is the right thing. And then you put that knowledge and you put that conviction in front of him. He will guide you when you, I don't know how surrender feels like, but at least if you feel helpless, you say that I'm experiencing this helplessness, and then you put this in front of him. He will guide you what is that right thing that you're supposed to do, what is that right thing that you have to do. And the other thing that I wanted to add is God meets you where you are. And many times people might be very lost with this thing. Am I wrong? Am I not right? What really, at least from my perspective, what it truly means is wherever you are in the spiritual path, what God is saying is, I recognize where you are in the spiritual path, and I'm graceful. I'm going to hold your hand as long as you're willing to take that one step. I'm going to give you that strength and conviction to take that more steps that you can take. So he knows where we are. He knows we openly, when we say, I really need to know what is that you're telling me, I really need to know what is my purpose, I really need to know which direction you want me to go. When you commit yourself to that purpose of where do you want me to go, he will show you the path of where you need to go. And the last thing that I just wanted to very quickly say is, even Ravana was seeking happiness, but the intention through which he was seeking happiness and where he was seeking happiness brought his destructions. So consciously, when you put that genuine spiritual effort to say, yes, I am seeking that happiness, but let my intentions not be detrimental to my own soul and let not be detrimental to somebody else. How can I serve the purpose where I can serve others, and eventually I can serve through my actions? How can I serve you? If you put that intention in your mind constantly and ask him for help me how I can serve you through my actions, he will give you those little upgrades that you're begging for.
Wonderful point. Little upgrades, I love that part. Upgrade is all that we need, and we do keep on getting those upgrades when we sincerely seek. And we have to approach it with utter humility that I'm not capable of doing it. I really need your help. And I think these are coming from the depths of realization. Beautiful point, Padmaji, like always. Loved it. All right, 2 more hands. I think we can cover.
Yeah, there are 2 more hands. Likit ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Likit ji, where are you joining us?
Radhe Radhe Ajay ji and everyone. Sorry, I thought Adai ji. Sorry, extremely sorry.
If you can turn on your camera, that will be good. If you can't, that's fine. So where
Radhe Radhe Nitin ji.
Radhe Radhe.
Nitin ji, I am from India, from South India, Karnataka. So I have a question related to which is somewhere outside of this topic. So my question is that, let's say within the preferred time, I would like to complete one particular task. And so according to Bhagavad Gita, is it said that one should do that task with the intention that I don't know whether I would complete the task or not, but I need to do the task with my all good efforts, how much I can, without thinking about that whether I would complete or not. Is this what Bhagavad Gita says, or something else that yes, I will complete it. It will happen by the grace of God. So my question is that with respect to this aspect, how can I have confidence on this, that God would grace me? Because when I was a great sinner before, just started spirituality, how can I have confidence that God would grace me to complete this task? So this is my question. Radha, thank you.
I'll try to attempt to answer it. It's a very interesting question. So you're from Karnataka, right? You said?
Yes, South India.
Okay, Kannada Gotilla. Hopefully you understand that. That's the only thing I learned in Bangalore.
Okay.
So I was in Bangalore for a while. So I used to struggle with Kannada, and at least I learned Kannada Gotilla. Then nobody would speak to me in Kannada after that. Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I think there's a saying which says, see, we are all sinner, first of all. So you have the humility to accept it. We don't even have that, to accept that. That itself takes a lot of doing. So every sinner, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future, first of all. Now, Valmiki, Angulimal, if you look at them, they were able to transform their life. Actually, God is called Patit Pavan. The problem is we don't consider ourselves Patit. The day we will consider ourselves Patit, God will make us Pavan. God is called Patit Pavan. The God is called by so many names. One of his names is Patit Pavan. So the day we think we are Patit, we are fallen, we are hopeless, God will start gracing us. Humility is what attracts him actually and draws his love as well. The other part is, see, Karam Yoga concept is not that God will not do it, right? Bestow me, I have done sins, or I may not be able to do it. Basically, Karam Yoga means you put your full effort in something as if the entire effort, everything depends on you. But when it comes to the result, you said everything depends on God. That means you put your 200% to everything, not 50-50. It may happen, may not happen, or maybe I deserve it, maybe I don't. God will give it. No, you don't have any self-doubts. You do something as if everything is dependent on your effort alone. You put in your 200%, but when it comes to result, just leave it to God. You don't start desiring because now I have put in 200%, I should get this result. That is what his Karam Yoga is. God is not asking us to do an action. In fact, he likes when we exert ourselves, when we try to realize our potential with regards to how much we can do. That draws God's grace. That is why he's created us, not to have self-doubts, not to have question marks. He wants us to exert ourselves with a full understanding that we are capable of doing anything and everything because God is seated within us. But the results are a function of a lot of things. We just leave it to God. Have prasada buddhi around it. Hope that answers your question. Every task that you do, put in your best and leave the rest to God, and God will start helping you because he checks our intention, how we are approaching something. That is how we need to approach it.
Nitinji, there is a chat from Seema ji. We are all divine Atmas, not sinners. The sinner is the pseudo self, which is ego, which commits the sins, and the Atma has to pay the price of this Maya.
Yes, technically, the soul is untainted by any of it, right? But then the soul cannot rid itself of the baggage that it has to carry from lifetime to lifetime, which is our subtle body, which is our mind, intellect, how we have exerted it. So Atma in itself is pure. But then the problem happens because we have not really surrendered our intellect. The day it happens, Atma will come into its true Sarup and we are eternal. Very true. Technically, yes, we are anyway pure.
Lakshmi ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. My false confusion, we have born into this life with our own balanced karma. So is that equal to the God's desire, or it's that Honi that's different from our balanced karma?
No, Honi is God's. So maybe the Honi is also orchestrated in a manner where the collective karma, and the clan karma, and Dar karma, they all converge together in that particular era. I don't know what is the, but Honi is something which is God's desire in a particular. Like Honi is towards the end of Kali Yuga, the Honi is it has to go away now. So at a macro level, God controls. At a micro level, He doesn't. It's dictated by our own choice, our own prarabdha, our own karmas around it. At a macro level, yes, right? So for example, if we have done such karmas that we keep repeating in this material world and we repeat around the time when Kali Yuga is about to end, to that extent, we have dictated our destiny. But then towards the end of a Kali Yuga, regardless of whether we have exited just before that or we are still around there, macro level, God controls. Kali Yuga has to wind up. So Honi is God's desire. At a macro level, God controls it. At a micro level, we are controlling it every day, the choices that we are making. So prarabdha is not God's will. Prarabdha is our own thing. God is simply giving us the results. He's not desiring it for us. If He were to desire it for us, He will make all of us perfect. Right? But if He will make all of us perfect, it will become whimsical. Then we are not entitled to it, and saints have earned it. And He gives us in free fund. He'll say, we did so much of thing and you are just distributing it like that. And secondly, we will not be able to value it because we are not yet there. Like I said, if tomorrow we get a passport or a visa to go, look, we'll get bored. They say, what's going on here? Selflessness and Krishna, and we'll not be able to resonate to it. We said we want to enjoy ourselves. So we're not there yet. We have to unlayer all the impurities, and then when we have the eligibility, God is more than happy to give us what we truly deserve. So there's a lot of purification process you have to undergo. Prarabdha is our own calling, not God's desire. Honi is completely different from Prarabdha.
Lakshmi ji, hope your question is answered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Understood. So let's talk offline.
Surinder ji, yeah, please go ahead.
Talk offline for sure. Yes, let's take a couple maybe quickly because I know we are over time.
Yes, Surinder ji.
More minutes.
Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Nitin ji, Radhe Radhe. I had put a small question in the chat. Probably it has been missed out. In various shlokas, different shlokas,
oh sorry,
Lord throughout Bhagavad Gita has been addressing Arjuna by different names. In this shloka, it was son of Pritha. There must be some relevance in the shloka.
Pritha, yeah. So he typically, when he invokes some kind of a compassion, he reminds it that you are son of Pritha, which is Kunti, I believe. Pritha, son of Pritha, yeah. Pritha was.
Antaya, Pritha, they are different.
Yeah, so I'll get that. We discussed that in chapter 1. Some of the different names. Pritha, I'll get that. He was the son. He belongs to that particular lineage, Pritha. And typically he calls him with this name when he wants to invoke some kind of a compassion towards Arjun. Kaunteya, sometimes he's calling him that. Yeah, but it's a good question. I'll tell you about Pritha part. It's slipped my mind.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
It is
Thank
usually
you very much.
It is contextual. Like when Arjun calls him Madhusudan, it's typically when he has some doubt to slay my doubt, right? Yeah. When he calls him Hrishikesh, that means you have absolute control over your mind and senses. So it is contextual for sure. Great point. Thank you, Surinder. I'll get the answer for Pritha.
Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Yeah, sorry, Surinder ji, for missing because there are so many chats today. Sorry for missing that question.
You can put in if you have any specific question that is unanswered. I will get in the
please
session.
Put it in the feedback tracker. Samji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji.
Yes, Samji.
Sorry. Actually, I forgot my question.
I did not. I did not forget it. I put it on the slide.
Okay, I remembered it. Maharaji and Swamiji says that we have been taking infinite number of lifetimes. Infinite number of times we have gone into upper planets, into lower planets also in the same amount. I mean, is there any praman for that evidence?
Praman, you need a Praman for that?
Yes.
You have to take it on the word for now. Okay. There's no Praman right now. But as the scriptures will go on, or if you, it will become self-evident, all this knowledge. So Praman, how will we do that? I mean, if we get a, let's say God gives us a memory to go that, it will actually make our life even more disturbing, more than what it is right now. So we have to take it on the face value. See, it's like, is there anything in the scriptures that you believe? Anything, let's say, any one thing.
Yeah.
What is that?
There is God, in personal form.
Okay, so you believe that?
Yes.
So same scriptures say that. So if you, when you cook rice, you don't taste the entire rice. Is this drop cooked? Is that one cooked? Is this one cooked? You just taste this much of it, and you safely assume rest of it is cooked as well. I would apply the same principles to scriptures as well. So take it on the face value until it starts just clicking. You don't even question it. If they are saying it, obviously there is some basis for that, right? It's difficult to believe at times, but how do we get Praman? I mean, getting proper Praman for dinosaurs itself is difficult. So we are talking about lifetimes, previous lifetimes and stuff like that. But saints have said that, scriptures are saying that, Guru is saying that, these three are good enough for us to believe in it. Right? Very difficult to visualize a monkey is flying over a mountain carrying in his hand and stuff like that. The simple policies, take it on a face value. In due course of time, your belief system will also solidify. How will we get the proof for that? Even scientists, so we cannot get a proof for that. Only proof is scriptures say that, saints have said that, multiple saints, not one. And your God realized Guru is saying that. That should be a good enough. These three are good enough yardsticks for us.
Okay. So we might.
Sorry.
So we might also have traveled to many Brahmandas.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You have become Indra also, believe it or not. So you trust me. Maharaji says that we all have experienced. See, infinite lifetimes we have been. We would have experienced everything, but the problem has been that we have been rotating in material world. Once we transcend that, it's done. And see, the good thing about spirituality, then you start realizing how much asakti you have to this world and worldly things. It's not easy. Layers and layers are there. Just to convince yourself and get into this path takes a lot of doing for sure. But at least if we continue taking steps, then we're making progress. So, but yeah, getting proofs is like, you have to go by the word to begin with.
Nitinji, Anusha ji has asked, if we use free will to exploit someone, then we face harsh consequences. What about the fate of person being exploited?
Fate of the person who's being exploited. I don't know. I mean, those people, now we cannot say that it was in their fate as part of their prarabdha, so that is why I did that. Maybe God arranged it that way. I don't know, but if you are troubling somebody, exerting your free will, obviously you are having a binding karma, negative binding karma. The person who's suffering, that person has a choice. He can actually use it to uplift himself, or he can use it to plot vengeance against you. That becomes his karma at that point. So how that person receives is his karma. Right? He can actually take that opportunity to channelize it towards internal growth, or he can look upon that opportunity as becoming resentful or having hatred towards you. Both choices are available to that person as well. So each one of us have their own karma on how we take a particular situation.
Yeah, well said. Hitalji has mentioned that NASA just published the news that there are more than 5,000 universes.
5,000 is just a tip in the iceberg that they have discovered. Other day I was reading a theory that our Big Bang happened, then there were two universes in opposite directions. So 5,000 is nothing. I told you our Milky Way is like a grain of sand in this entire sea beach. If this entire universe, and that is just 2/3 of the entire creation. That is what our scriptures say. So 500,000 is nothing basically. They have discovered just another drop, just another speck, I would say. In fact, it is said it is possible to count the dust in this universe, but you cannot count the number of universes in this creation. We have no clue. No clue. Just imagine this concept. That is what our scriptures say. Theoretically, you could count dust in this entire universe, but you cannot count how many universes are out there. Billion and trillion headed Brahma, you can't imagine how big the universes would be. When 4-headed Brahma's universe, we don't even know our solar system. Right? It's a very vast universe. That's what our scriptures tell us.
Yeah,
I know.
Padmaji.
Yes, Padmaji, real quick.
Yeah, you're last but not the least, Padmaji.
Yeah, I'll make this really quick, just to shed some light on Likit's Jay's question, right? So a task came to his table. A task can be, a situation can be a thought, a situation can be an action, a situation can be something that you have to decide. So that is God's way of giving you an opportunity to test you. What is that? How is that you're going to think spiritually about this particular situation? Spiritually, what will be your action? Spiritually, how is that you're going to tackle that process right now, in this moment, presently, in this life, is what is really matters to him and what really matters to us. Not the end product of, you know what, I will do this because I'm in the spiritual path, but I expect this kind of result. That's not what God is looking for. What he's really seeking for is every thought which comes in our mind, every situation when it comes to our table, how is that you're going to respond to that situation spiritually? How can you put some spiritual justification to the thought? How can you put some spiritual justification to the action or the situation which came on front of your table? That's what he will truly, I think he considers, like, what is the effort that you're putting, the spiritual effort that you're putting. But don't go after the result. Leave the result as, even if the result is not in your favor, take it for granted that that result is not good for you. That's why he took it away from you. So don't go after the results. Whatever the results are not good for us, he would definitely make sure that he would take it away from you, whether it's money, people, situations, maybe a promotion, whatever. The reason why it didn't happen the way that we wanted it is because that is exactly how it was supposed to be designed for our spiritual growth. And that's exactly what he will do.
Wonderful. Great way of looking at it. Exactly how we need to look at everything. Even after putting in our 200%, if we don't get the result, that means it is for our betterment only. Wonderful. This is called prasada buddhi, where we have firm faith. It's just like a husband putting a sword on the neck of his wife and asking, "Are you scared?" He said, "Of course not. I have complete faith in you." That level of faith we need in God, that he's not only protecting us, but he has our best interests in our mind. The things that are dictated by him, like results, we have to simply trust that. And that is part of surrender as well. Beautiful point, Padmaji. Let's do our closing prayers. I know we are way over. So let's do our closing prayers. Tomorrow we continue with our discussion, the principle of reciprocation. What is reciprocation? Very important topic. So we'll discuss that tomorrow. Let's do our closing prayers. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody. Radhe Radhe. Have a wonderful day. Great rest of your evening and stay blessed. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Nitinji, for such an awesome session. Everyone, have a blessed day. See you tomorrow, everyone.
Tomorrow.
I'm already falling asleep.